Are you making these common estate planning mistakes? Well, stick around because today I'm going to reveal the top pitfalls you need to avoid to ensure your estate plan is rock solid. In the next 10 minutes, you'll learn the most frequent mistakes people make in estate planning and how to avoid them to ensure that your legacy is protected. From my experience of over 28 years practicing law, I've seen these mistakes cause unnecessary stress and financial loss for families, and you can, with the right guidance, prevent these things. Hi, I'm estate planning attorney Mike Smith with Smith Barid LLC, and I'm one half of the Estate Planning Guys. Real life examples that highlight the importance of avoiding these mistakes. Number one is not having a plan at all. And believe it or not, 70% of people have no plan at all. The biggest mistake in estate planning is not having a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, somebody's going to make one for you. Many people just assume that their assets will automatically go to their loved ones, but the fact is, without a plan, state law determines the distribution, and it may not be exactly what you think it is. And that can lead to conflicts and unintended consequences. Like maybe your spouse isn't going to get everything that you thought she would get or he would get. Or somebody that you really wanted to have something for your estate is going to be left out. Now this part's really interesting. The next big mistake that people make is failing to update your plan. Life changes, and so should your estate plan, and failing to update your plan after major life events like marriage, divorce, the birth of a child, or the acquisition of new assets can render it ineffective. A client of mine didn't update their plan after a divorce, and their ex-spouse was still listed as a beneficiary, and that caused some major issues. And you'll understand why in just a second. So in this case, the client, who is a divorcee, she did update her planning. She updated her will, etc. But what she failed to do was to update her life insurance beneficiary designations. And that's one of the important things. And we always tell clients they need to do that. But for whatever reason, she got busy, didn't take care of that. And then unfortunately, she passed away unexpectedly. And her ex-spouse was listed as the beneficiary on the policy. And so he got the life insurance benefits, even though that was not what she intended and not what she wanted to happen. So it's really important that you update your plan periodically. And we think that every 3 years is about the right cadence for doing that. Any more frequent than that, not much changes year to year, but when you look at it over a 3-year period, you're going to find that the law changes, things change in your life, and your plan needs to be updated just to match up with where you are in your life at that point in time. The third big mistake that I see people make is not considering tax implications. So estate taxes is one thing, and currently the estate tax exemption is $13.61 million. So not a lot of people are affected by that, and if you're married, you get double that amount. So an estate of $27 million, $27.2 million is exempt from estate taxes. So the reality is not many people are impacted by that. But those are not the only taxes that you need to consider. So one of the things that people fail to consider is capital gains tax. And so I often have people who will come in to see me and they'll say, hey, my mom is getting older and we want to just transfer her property, her home over to us. She's gonna sign a deed and transfer it over to my sister and me. Well, the problem with that is that it can cause capital gains tax upon the sale of the property. So there's something called the step up in basis that applies to capital gains tax. And the way it works is that when someone dies, if you inherit property from them, your basis in that asset receives a step up. And basis is basically what you have in the asset, what you put in the asset. So if I bought a piece of property and I paid $100,000 for it and I sold it for $1 million, I would have a $900,000 gain. And I would pay capital gains tax on that. But if I left that property to my son and he inherited it from me, he would receive, upon my death, a step up in basis to the date of death value. So if we bought the property for $100,000 and it's now worth $1 million, my son's basis in that is $1 million. And if he sells the property for $1 million, guess what? No capital gains tax. So it's important that when you're doing your estate planning that you consider not only the estate tax, and right now that's not a problem for a lot of people. We are facing an estate tax cliff in 2025, the end of 2025. The estate tax will reset back down to $5 million exemption plus inflation. So we expect as of January 1, 2026, we'll have an estate tax exemption that's much less, about half of what it is now. But again, even at that rate, $6 million exemption, $12 million for a married couple, not that many people are impacted by that, but capital gains tax can impact a lot of people. And so you need to consider not just estate tax, but also, capital gains tax and income taxes when you're doing your estate planning. And it's fascinating to me that a lot of people just don't understand this concept. If you're finding this information helpful, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more estate planning tips. So number 4 is choosing the wrong executor or trustee. And I've done another video where I go into some detail about this topic, but suffice it to say, selecting the wrong person to manage your estate can lead to mismanagement and family disputes, even lawsuits. So it's crucial to choose someone who is trustworthy, organized, and capable of handling the responsibilities. So if you have a child who's an emergency room doctor, they're probably not going to have time to take care of carefully managing your estate when you die. So that's just an example of when you might want to consider, I don't think, my son, the doctor, is going to be a good choice here. And the other thing I would say about this is that you need to be very careful about choosing family members in this role. It can be better in some cases to choose a professional. There is a cost to doing that, but having a family member serve in this role can sometimes lead to conflict in the family. So just consider that as you're making that choice. Now, let me ask you a question. If you have an estate plan, have you communicated with your family about your estate plan? Because that's mistake number 5 that I see people making, which is not communicating your plan to your family. Your estate plan should not be a secret. Failing to communicate your wishes to your family and to the executor can lead to confusion and disagreements. I mean, just think about this. If you have specific feelings about end-of-life treatment, do you want life support? Do you want a ventilator? All those kinds of things, and you haven't told your family about what you want, maybe you've written it down in an advance directive or some sort of healthcare directive, and you've named someone to carry that out for you, but maybe you haven't talked to them about it, or maybe you talked to them, but you haven't talked to the rest of your family. That could be a really traumatic event if you're in the hospital and you're facing an end-of-life situation and the doctors are telling your family, hey, we think you should pull the plug. There's really nothing more we can do for him or her. If you haven't talked to your family about what you want in that situation, that can be a very traumatic experience for your family. And that's one example of estate plan information that you need to share with your family. Also, who did you choose to be the executor? Why did you do things the way you did? The more that you communicate with your family about what your wishes and hopes are for them, the better things will go when you pass away. The better things will be handled, everyone understanding exactly, what you intended and why. The why piece is really important, that often gets left out. So communicating with your family. Now, if you want more detailed guidance, go to the link in the description below to our resource page, and we have a bunch of different things that we can share with you about various estate planning topics that you can download and read at your leisure and get more information. So to recap, the top mistakes to avoid in your estate planning are: number 1, not having a plan at all; number 2, failing to update your plan on a regular basis; number 3, not considering tax implications. And remember, we're not just talking about the estate tax. Number 4, choosing the wrong executor or trustee. And number 5, not communicating your plan to your family. If you're interested in more tips on estate planning, check out our next video. Find the link below. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out in the comments or shoot us an email. I'm Mike Smith with the Estate Planning Guys.